I'm Natalie Nordrugen, Editor-in-Chief of CRU Wire and Cable News. This month, we look at the effect that COVID-19 is having on the wire and cable supply chain and the industry in general. If you wish to find out more about all topics that we cover regarding COVID-19 and the wire and cable industry, please contact us to subscribe to CRU Wire and Cable News. If you are already a subscriber, you will find more coverage of this type online in the Wire and Cable News section. We even have added a filter for COVID-19 so that you can find stories easily. Between March 9th to March the 27th, CRU ran a survey to find out how different parts of the wire and cable supply chain have been affected by COVID-19. This by no means provides a comprehensive or accurate picture of the overall effect of COVID-19 on production or logistics, but provides a small insight into what is going on in the supply chain. The survey ran over a time where there was a huge change in the number of people infected globally and the actions taken by governments in various countries to slow down the spread of the virus. Replies were received from a number of different players along the wire and cable industry chain. A large proportion of the respondents were wire and cable producers, followed by polymer and compound producers. Others included cable equipment making suppliers, copper, aluminium, steel, polymer and yarn suppliers, and shipping and logistics providers, amongst others. Over the time of the survey, the epicenter moved from China to Europe, and the time of preparing this webcast, the US seems to be developing into the next epicenter. The situation remains fluid, changing from day to day, hour to hour. The severity of the situation has been met with increasingly stringent lockdowns. For example, Europe currently remains the epicenter, with 49% of all cases and 73% of all deaths emanating from the countries listed in the table. The worst affected country remains Italy, followed by Spain, with Germany, France and the UK moving swiftly up the table. We can also see that China and countries in Northeast Asia like Japan and South Korea are moving down in the table, with the spread slowly becoming more manageable. At the time of preparing this webcast, Wuhan had partially reopened after 2 months in isolation. However, in the 17 days of this survey, the US has moved from 8th to top place. This has led the US to take increasingly stringent measures to control the situation, while in Europe, lockdown measures remain in place, possibly for not just weeks but months. Therefore, it is difficult to ascertain or predict how supply chains are affected, but wire and cable is classed as a key industry in most countries, and as such, even in the Lombardy region of Italy, plants are understood to be running even at lower capacities. What is causing disruption within the global supply chain are problems with logistics, as borders close and more limited availability of shipping and logistics services, as more strain is put on these type of companies. As part of the survey, we also asked respondents a number of questions about how their way of working had been affected. Smart working or remote working increased over the duration of the survey, with 50% of respondents now working from home. A number of companies like Prismin had announced that all their offices-based staff were working remotely. Some companies, particularly in the US, have introduced A and B shifts to increase social distancing in the office environment. This allows companies to maximize space between staff, with half of staff working in the office and the other half at home. Almost all major wire and cable producers that we know of have banned visitor access to their corporate offices and plants. About 93% of respondents said that travel has been affected, as most companies have instituted travel bans to protect their employees. The table shows that events which were to take place between March and May have been rescheduled for December this year or moved to 2021. Events taking place in June have also been cancelled, rescheduled, or are actively being monitored, possibly with a view of being rescheduled. It is only from July onwards that there seems to be more confidence in the dates, but this could change in the coming weeks depending on how global the virus situation develops. If you are a subscriber, you'll be able to access this table in the monthly PDF report and click on the links to monitor the various events. Only 7% of producers said that production was lower due to a lack of staff, while another 7% said that production had totally shut down. All of these were international companies with sites in China, with some directly based in Wuhan. These same companies also replied that they had problems procuring raw materials like copper and aluminium rod, as well as polyethylene and XLPE compounds and yarns. However, by the time we ended the survey, these companies had resumed output or partial production at the China-based units. As the virus moves through Europe and the Americas, as well as parts of South and Southeast Asia, it is conceivable that some producers there will be forced to reduce or stop production due to issues getting raw materials, logistical problems delivering to customers, and falling customer demand, particularly from automotive and construction. In the case of metals producers, plummeting prices of the commodities that they produce have also led some copper and aluminium producers to review costs and capital spending. However, we do not expect the latter to significantly affect the wire and cable supply chain. Logistical problems are an issue, as are the action of workers who might not want to continue working at the plants if they feel unsafe. For example, in Lombardy, the three main workers' unions said in a statement that the list of companies that can continue working has been excessively extended, covering areas of dubious importance and allowing firms excessive discretion in applying for exemptions. The FIOM Metal Workers Union reported that between 60% and 90% of workers across the region joined a strike on March the 25th, with those in other sectors calling in sick, bringing production to a virtual halt. While wire and cable production is seen as an essential industry and is likely to continue production, such worker pressure could result in supply issues. Various companies along the supply chain have reported logistical issues. For example, Techno Apex said that truck deliveries in the US are an issue, as drivers deselect certain routes to hot zones like the Pacific Northwest. The company also explained that panic buying is causing food retailers to restock more frequently, leading to logistics challenges. An imbalance in ocean vessels and lower staffing levels at all global ports due to COVID-19 has also meant that companies need to secure vessels 5 to 6 weeks in advance to secure shipments. Some companies have also changed the way they ship their products. Anglo-Italian cable producer Tratos said that it had moved to alternative delivery means in order to reduce the risk of any potential contamination spread and to protect people across the supply chain. Tratos has switched from road to rail for land-based transportation, minimizing direct human handling and with products shipped in containers. The company said the change may add up to 15 days to delivery times. About 11% of the respondents to this survey said that customer demand had been severely affected. The respondents worked for either cable or steel companies. The respondents for cable producers worked for divisions based in Wuhan, while others supplied customers in the automotive industries, particularly with harnesses to automotive customers. CRU has researched the impact of COVID-19 on demand in 2 separate articles, which are available to subscribers. We have outlined the effect of the pandemic on the automotive industry in COVID-19 Strikes European Automotive Cable Demand and on the future global cable demand in COVID-19 Cable Markets Brace for Impact. In conclusion, We can say that the impact of COVID-19 on the global wire and cable supply chain has so far not been as severe as we originally anticipated. But this is a fluid situation and of course can change from day to day. Cable producers in the most heavily affected regions have mainly been allowed to continue production as they are classed as a key industry. However, the supply of key raw materials like metals, polymers and yarns to the factories can be a problem, as the logistics of these has been delayed by movement orders, stringent border checks and an overall increased demand for logistic services. That concludes our webcast for this month. Thank you for listening. Be safe and remain healthy.